Part 36. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 365. Sabata War Alliance Southeast Star Region, Oya Galaxy, Oya Star. The huge black battleship is like a starry sky beast lying soundly sleeping in the starry sky of the universe, with a faint orange light flowing in the gaps in the armor. The simple starport floats outside the atmosphere of Oya Star. From time to time, small and medium-sized warships go back and forth between the surface and it. At this moment, there are three styles of space battleships parked in this star field. The most eye-catching ones are the two Titan fleets, and some Tianding people's battleships. A few are crude and abnormal, as if they were pieced together from the remains of abandoned battleships. Of the Sabata War Alliance battleship, it was originally just one of the ordinary planets under the Sabata Alliance. During this time, a huge and magnificent temple appeared on the surface of Oya. The unknown style of carvings and patterns on it gave the temple an overall atmosphere. This strange sense of oppression would make any ordinary intelligent life form standing in front of this temple feel its own insignificance. Liodz was sitting on the throne in the temple as he had been the past few days, quietly listening to the reports from the representatives of the Sabata War Alliance and the Tianding stars below. Ever since Tidal, the general of the Tianding stars, raided the giant gate star behind the Yiren, the Kamigawa ants under his command no longer continued to attack the western part of the Shima star region, but instead moved towards the area under their control. The star field shrank back. Although the hunting of Tianding and Sabata people still yielded good results, Liodz felt that the commander of the winged people should know his purpose. Such behavior of standing still is really not like the style of the winged commander who was able to quickly annihilate the capital star of the Shima Empire before. After sending away the Tianding people and Sabata beasts who came to report from below, Liodz began to put himself in his shoes and think about what the wingman commander was thinking now. At the same time, in the outer space of Oya Star, the alarm in the Titan mothership suddenly rang. But before the Titans in the Titan mothership could figure out what the alarm was, more than 20 huge orange-red energy clusters shot out from outside the Oya galaxy. Some Titan warships were unprepared and were directly hit by these large orange-red energy groups. The thick armor was directly melted by this extremely huge energy, and then the hull was torn apart by the huge energy turbulence that followed. In particular, the two Titan motherships were given special attention, with at least 8 large orange-red energy groups heading towards them. Several orange-red mushroom clouds rose from the giant ship body measured in kilometers. Under the terrifying energy explosion, even the Titan mothership could not survive unharmed. There was a nearly 10-kilometer burning fire in the area where it was attacked. Melt pit. For a time, the starport outside Oya Star fell into chaos due to a sudden attack. But this was not the end. Along with the appearance of a blue halo like a whirlpool, large space wormholes opened outside the atmosphere of Oya Star. Afterwards, one after another, the Skyblade warships, together with the warships of various affiliated civilizations, filed out of it and landed directly not far away from the Titan, Tianding, and Sabata Orc fleets. As soon as the angels and affiliated civilizations who had been prepared appeared on the battlefield, they fired wildly at the surrounding enemies without hesitation. Some weapons that were originally taboo in Angel Nebula have been taken out by affiliated civilizations such as Kebrai and Migra. Because of the order of Sky Sword King Binghua, this operation is mainly for destruction. No matter what kind of side effects there are, as long as the power is strong enough, just greet the enemy with all your strength. As a result, powerful explosive bombs, nuclear bombs, proton bombs, and dark matter missiles of various strategic levels flew all over the sky, causing huge damage to the beast civilization fleet parked in this star field. The aftermath of those strategic level weapons were all blocked by Skyblade's light energy barrier, preventing damage to friendly warships. As for the Oya Star on the side, no one cares about it now. Several holes were opened in the atmosphere at the beginning. Several nuclear bombs were accidentally dropped on the surface by the Kebrians, and several black ones were planted. Big Mushroom. In this battle, Binghua let go of the suppression of various explosion maniacs in the affiliated civilization and specifically allowed them to show off their skills. In fact, they did not disappoint Binghua. The beast fleet was directly blown up by various powerful explosions. Couldn't even organize a decent counterattack. There are not without smart people in the beast fleet. Some battleships no longer avoid the giant explosions that rise from time to time. They turn the battleships back and forth and rush towards the Skyblade and the surrounding attached battleships at full speed. After a period of time, the fleets of both sides merged into one, becoming one among you and one among me. Among them, the Skyblade and Titan battleships relied on their huge size to rush through the merging fleets of both sides. But this situation soon disappeared. As if the two parties had agreed, the Skyblade and the Titan battleship then came to terms with each other. Following Binghua's orders, some Skyblades gave up their shields and used their hulls to withstand the Titan's artillery fire. While the hull was brewing a Star Destroyer strike that could destroy the Titan battleship, it continuously fired spears of light to deal with the surrounding Sabata Orcs He Tian. Ding Ren's battleship. A Tianding battleship nearly a kilometer long had several huge holes burning with flames blasted out of its surface. At the same time, a warship belonging to the Sakaz people had no time to turn due to flight trajectory problems, and was about to collide with the Tianding people's warship with a damaged surface. After the captains of both sides discovered the situation, they unanimously roared at the operator on the bridge. "Turn right, left, and hit me. Let these hybrids, ants, with animal bodies, Kamikawa, see our devotion and power to God." The two warships used their close-in firepower to pour firepower on the approaching enemy ships while getting closer to each other. Along with the two large battleships trembling together, the two battleships belonging to different camps stuck together tightly. At this moment, where the battleships of both sides met, heavy and rhythmic footsteps sounded, and a metal knight about 3 meters tall and wearing heavy armor approached the broken hatch. Knights of the Protectorate Knights. In order to spread the glory of our God, we must destroy any heretic who does not belong to our kind in front of us. The leading Guardian Knight responded with the sound of a heavy shield hitting the ground at the same time behind him. At this moment, the metal bulkhead in front of the group of Guardian Knights made a harsh metal twisting sound. The next moment, the wall of the battleship was suddenly broken open, and a Tianding warrior wearing metal armor and a metal faceplate got in through the hole holding a large cold weapon. However, what greeted these Tianding starmen who broke into the enemy ship was not a thrilling fight with cold weapons, but a dense rain of large caliber bullets. A protective knight wearing an armor styled like a knight with a long red cloak behind his back. But each person is holding a large gun, which is currently mounted on the heavy shield held in his left hand, forming a dense metal barrage covering the Tianding people who rush in. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 366. Although the barrage is very dense, the actual killing effect on the Tianding stars is very average, because the Tianding stars generally have very strong physical fitness, so they are very hungry for bullets, and they often lose their combat effectiveness after being hit by dozens of bullets. According to the experiments of the Kamigawa civilization, the bodies of Tianding people can survive for a short period of time even if they are exposed to the vacuum of the universe. Some powerful people who have trained their bodies to the extreme can fight in the vacuum of the universe. This was the situation at the moment. As the gap in the bulkhead became larger and larger, more and more Tianding warriors broke in. Gradually, the long-range firepower of the Guardian Knights could no longer suppress them. "Draw your sword!" Accompanied by a shout, the Guardian Knights at the front threw away their firearms and reached into the heavy shields in front of them. With the sound of metal friction, a silver-forked giant sword over 1 meter tall with no ridge in the middle was pulled out. After this giant sword with a unique structure was pulled out, it suddenly made a low frequency and harsh buzzing sound. However, this did not prevent the Guardian Knights from using this giant sword to fight. Facing the rushing Tianding stars, they just raised the giant sword in their hands and slashed it down with force. The sound of dense metal collisions was heard. Facing the sluggish slashes of the Guardian Knights, the warriors of the Tianding stars just raised the large swords in their hands and easily blocked the giant swords that came down from above. But soon the Tianding warriors were shocked to discover that these tall metal warriors were surprisingly powerful. What frightened them even more was that as the pressure on their heads increased, their weapons were being cut open by the giant sword in the enemy's hand. Then the flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the giant sword, which lost its metal resistance, easily cut open the bodies of the Tianding people, cutting them into half-corpses. The giant sword in his right hand fell, and the heavy shield held in his left hand was raised, and with the assistance of the jet power from his elbow, it slammed forward. A dull crash sounded, and the Tianding warriors who rushed over the corpses of their companions and rushed in front of the Metal Knights were knocked out by the giant metal shields pushed by the Guardian Knights. Then the giant sword held by the Guardian Knight in his right hand was raised and turned into a vortex sword that was about to fall, as if a new reincarnation had begun. The Guardian Knights in the front blocked the onrushing Tianding stars, while the Guardian Knights in the rear used their firearms to suppress and shoot them. The two paths of evolution collided fiercely here. In the confrontation between physical evolution and intelligent technology, technology temporarily had a slight upper hand. As the battleships meleeed, each Skyblade also began to drop angel warriors, plus some space battleships from affiliated civilizations, posing a huge threat to the battleships of the Beast civilization. Angel Zilluo passed through the flames of the explosion and broke into the interior of a battleship. With a backhand stroke of his sword, he cut the weapon and body of a Tianding star into two halves. But the enemy was not the same, and soon a group of Tianding warriors rushed over with large weapons and roars of unknown meaning. Just when Zilluo raised the corner of his mouth and was about to move his body, several war spears suddenly pierced through the firelight behind him. After hearing a few puffs and the sound of sharp weapons entering flesh, several Tianding warriors who rushed towards Zilluo fell to the ground. A silver spear with a faint red light was inserted into their chests. Zilluo looked back slightly and protested dissatisfiedly, "Yinga, what are you going to do? Can't you just let me vent my anger? This is not a purge operation, it is a time for engagement. We should prioritize the Queen's orders and destroy the enemy's warships." As the soft voice appeared, there was a scene of Yinga flying out of the burning flames. She stretched out her hand and the spears that had pierced the chests of the Tianding warriors flew up automatically and returned to her lower back. Inside a casing. As a new group of third-generation combat warriors, Zilluo and Yinga have gained the right to act alone on the battlefield. Unlike Zilluo, who likes fighting and close combat, Yinga changed her fighting style after becoming a third-generation warrior, and chose to seek help from the scientific research angels stationed on the Skyblade, asking them to use the Spear of Judgment, the weapon the angels were about to install. Creating a weapon suitable for himself. The Judgment Gun case is a special device on Yinga's back waist armor at this moment. It can recycle the projected Judgment Gun. It also has a special automatic ejection function. The normal storage capacity is 5 Judgment Guns. Although the structure is simple, combined with the dark energy conversion efficiency of the third-generation warriors, it can cause considerable lethality. At this moment, dense footsteps sounded in the aisle ahead, and soon a group of Tianding warriors holding weapons appeared in the sight of Yinga and Zilluo. "This should be enough for you to vent, right?" While speaking, Yinga raised her arms and reached out to make a move, and 2 judgment guns were ejected from the judgment gun box behind her, which she held. At the same time, the handle of the gun popped back, turning from a short gun into a long gun. Seeing this, Zilluo focused his attention on the incoming enemy, raised his flaming sword and pointed forward, and said to Yinga behind him, "Then let's compete to see who can kill more enemies. I'll let you 3 go first. I won't bully you for just changing weapons." After speaking, Zilugo kicked a small hole in the floor, flapped his wings and rushed out. You don't have to give in, I'm still somewhat confident in playing with guns. The words were still floating in the air, and Yinga's figure had already disappeared. He was seen holding a silver spear in each hand, flying towards the top of the aisle with his back, the trial gun box on his waist slowly turning, and only a few words were heard. There was a sound of metal friction, and 3 spears of judgment in the short gun stayed fired at the incoming Tianding warriors in front. The flying short spears and the brilliant red sword light formed a picture of the god of death frantically harvesting lives. 10 seconds later, with a clicking sound, the gun of judgment that had been ejected during the battle was automatically returned to the magazine. Yinga raised the corners of her mouth slightly and opened her lips lightly. 11 Lugo, it seems that I won. Zilugo curled his lips when he heard this, shook the flaming sword in his hand in displeasure, and flapped his wings to fly forward. Seeing this, Yinga shook her head slightly and didn't care, flapped her wings and followed. In the aisle behind the two were Tianding warriors lying on the ground in a pool of blood. Some of them had a penetrating wound as thick as an arm on their chests, while others had long and narrow cuts spanning most of their upper bodies. They had become corpses and could only lie here, quietly telling others about their powerlessness in the face of the 3rd generation of angels. Dazzling lightning suddenly appeared in the universe, splitting into dozens of arm-thick lightning bolts and striking towards the surroundings. The 2 angels were accidentally shrouded in lightning, their whole bodies trembling and groaning in pain, and finally they couldn't hold on anymore and passed out. A Titan god wearing platinum armor stood on several Titan motherships that were burning with fire. The giant sword in his hand released thick thunder again and again into the area densely populated by angels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 367. Damn Wingman. If you dare to attack the great Titan fleet, you will all die here. The Titan god wearing platinum armor roared into the void, but only angels could hear his words. In just a few minutes, there were hundreds of unconscious female angels floating in the space around the Titan god, and even more damaged space fighters. The dazzling thunder began to gather on the giant sword, and after finding an area with more angels, the Titan god was ready to repeat his old trick, using the diffusion of his own thunder to kill these winged people. He once saw the winged men in a cage in the palace of Liads, the god of thunder. He felt that these winged men were not worthy of being opponents of the Titans because they were too weak and insignificant. He began to have some doubts about Liads. Is Odes being too cautious? Just when the Titan god was thinking about this, the thunder in the shape of a spreading spiderweb was fired from the giant sword in his hand. It seemed to be attracted by something and regrouped towards one location. Angel Ran held the flaming sword high, and all the thunder fired by the Titan god was directed to her position. As an expert in playing with thunder like Binghua, Ran's focus was more on fighting than on blessing herself. Seeing that the violent and dazzling thunder was about to fall on him, Angel Ran slashed the flaming sword in his hand in the direction of the Titan god, and at the same time opened and closed his lips and uttered 3 words. Back to you. The speed of the thunder was so fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of the Titan god, who looked in disbelief. The next moment, the thunder light shone brightly, and thunder snakes spread out in all directions. As the lightning dissipated, the Titan god, whose armor was emitting a faint green smoke, turned his huge eyes and locked his gaze on the hanging angel burning not far away. I didn't expect there to be someone like you among the winged men. I kind of understand what Liads is thinking. As if talking to himself, the Titan god raised the giant sword in front of him, and thunder snakes swam on the surface of his body. Angel Ran remained silent and focused all her attention on this Titan god, because this was her first battle to become a god-level warrior. The next moment, Angel Ran rushed out with a flaming sword in hand, with lightning flashing around it and thunder rushing around it. The Titan god on the Titan mothership did not show any weakness, and the space around him was also filled with thunder and lightning. As these two accomplished beings in thunder fought, this space in the universe instantly became a restricted area for ordinary angels and space fighters. Because there are two Titan fleets parked here on Oya Star, there are two Titan gods sitting there. One of them was fighting with Angel Ran, while the other, an angry Titan god, was being dragged along by 8 high-level battle angels. Orange-red high-heat energy like flames appeared all over his body, and the huge red sword in his hand swung out a burst of orange-red energy from time to time. The huge size of the Titan god not only made the 3 generations of angels unable to compete with its power, but also limited the Titan god's flexibility to a certain extent. Among the 8 high-level angels besieging him, 5 high-level angels kept flying around the Titan god, and used flaming slashes to attract his attention. The other 3 high-level angels flew outside the battle circle and began to prepare a flame bombardment to greet the Titan god. As time went on and the flame bombardment kept falling on his body, the Titan god, who could only be helpless and furious, gradually felt that his body began to weaken, and his massive vitality gradually became unable to make ends meet as the injuries accumulated. Binghua, who was sitting on the throne of the flagship, after inspecting several key battlefields, came to the conclusion that the situation was temporarily favorable to his own side. If no other accidents occur, this home-stealing tactic will achieve great results and even change the current situation of Red Star Ring, but it would be great if this is the case. Almost as soon as Binghua had such an idea, Jingnan hurriedly ran into the hall. Queen, Skyblade has detected that a giant life form with vital signs exceeding that of Titan God is rising from the surface of Oya Star. It will soon pass through the atmosphere and reach the battlefield. Hearing this, Binghua put down the right hand that was supporting his cheek, got up from the throne and walked forward. Jingnan, convey my king's order and let the heavenly blades act according to their original tactics. If unexpected situations arise, they can make their own decisions. By the way, there is one more thing. While I am fighting with him, send a team of angels to rescue our sisters who are trapped on the surface of Oya Star. As soon as Binghua finished speaking, he spread his wings behind his back and flew down from the throne platform, flying out of the Skyblade conference hall close to the ground. On the surface of Oya Star, Liodz looked gloomy, and thunder flashed around him, like a thunder god in the midst of rage. Following a piercing cry, a huge figure flapped its wings to sweep away all the floating dust around it. It was a giant bird with 4 legs, and its sharp-hooked beak reflected the faint light like metal. The body is covered with brown feathers. Seeing that his means of transportation finally appeared, Liod's gloomy expression relaxed a little. He sat astride the back of the 4-legged bird, raised his long-handled giant sword, and raised his hand towards the bird under him. Empty command. The 4-legged bird that has been tamed by Liodz does not dare to disobey its master's orders at all, even if it was the incarnation of a natural disaster that could destroy a civilization. Flailing its 2 huge wings, the bird began to climb with Liodz on its back. As it flew high into the sky, the air around the 4-legged bird began to accelerate under the interference of a special magnetic field emitted by itself. Soon the accelerating air turns into a gust of wind, then a raging squall. Liodz also emitted a trace of lightning and thunder at the right time, and soon a thundercloud storm sweeping dozens of kilometers in radius had formed, rushing towards the atmosphere as Liodz moved. After Binghua flew out of the Skyblade, his whole body flashed with lightning, and his speed suddenly increased greatly, turning into a stream of light and rushing towards Oya Star. As he got closer and closer to Oya Star, Binghua also observed the sizable thundercloud storm. According to the news from Tianren, there should be an existence with vital signs exceeding that of the Titan god in that thundercloud. Middle. Since you are hiding inside and don't want to see anyone, I will force you to come out on your own. With such thoughts in mind, Binghua moved out the star blade of destruction. Seeing that the thundercloud was still far away from him, Binghua planned to experiment with a special combat method that he had discovered a long time ago. Start searching for data docking terminals. 25 connectable terminals have been searched. Data docking with No 013 Tianren is being established. Connecting, the connection has been completed. At this moment, on the Skyblade flagship, as the captain, Angel Ruyun heard his subordinates reporting that the Queen had connected to the Skyblade they were on, and Ruyun immediately ordered. In addition to retaining necessary computing resources, Skyblade fully assists the Queen's calculations. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 368. The seven-killing King Sword was raised high above his head, and the dazzling red halo expanded to an extreme in just 2 seconds, like a miniature star hanging outside the atmosphere of Oya Star for a moment. This was the first time that Binghua prepared for a flame bombing with the support of Tianren's computing power. He completed the collection and conversion of energy in just 2 seconds. Without any hesitation, Binghua slashed the raised sword towards the atmosphere below. The terrifying energy that was originally like a ball of stars was immediately stretched into an arc moon shape, like a giant flaming slash flying downwards. A crack was cut out in the atmosphere of Oya Star in an instant, and then the burning red flames flew towards the huge thundercloud with unabated momentum. Liodz naturally saw the scorching red slash falling from the sky, and instead of foolishly choosing to bear it, he directly used the four-legged flying eagle under him to avoid it. The result was that the thundercloud storm jointly created by Liodz and his mount was almost cut in half. Ignoring the terrifying explosion rising from the ground, Liodz continued to climb toward the atmosphere, but at this moment, a figure that was unusually small for him stood at the end of his flight path and looked down at him. At this moment, Binghua felt that his condition was better than ever before. Looking at the huge figure below and the thunder and lightning that continued to flicker around him, Binghua said loudly, "You will never be allowed to pass through this barrier of my king, you only have one option, stop here." Binghua's voice echoed in the sky. Almost at the moment when his voice fell, traces of distortion appeared in the space around Binghua. The next moment, simple silver swords were carried out and suspended in the air. Their number exceeds 100. As Binghua raised the Wang sword in his right hand, a scorching red halo began to appear on all the long swords in the air. The next moment, the long sword in the air was like a beam of light, turning into dozens of red light bands and pouring down. Faced with such an attack, Liodz could not completely evade it, and dense explosions rose up one after another on his body. Liodz, who had just flown to an altitude of 10,000 meters, was knocked back by the explosion. Binghua also stopped attacking and continued to carry the sword as a carrier of dark energy and stellar energy, ready to continue bombing at any time. Without beings like Binghua and the Titan Lord God who can disrupt the balance of the battlefield, the balance of victory in the war outside the atmosphere of Oya Star is gradually tilting towards the angels. Notify all the angel warriors to speed up the attack. The Queen is buying time for us. We must end the battle in the shortest possible time. Boom. As the flame bombardment continued to fall on him, one of the two Titan gods finally couldn't hold on any longer, and his huge body covered with pits and huge burn marks fell to the deck of the Titan mothership at his feet. This seemed to be the beginning. Golden armored Titans and ordinary Titan warriors continued to fall in front of the angel warriors who were becoming more and more skilled in fighting giant units. Although many angel warriors among them fell because of the war, everything was worth it because more enemies were buried with them. He relied on the double-horned Titan god above his head to control the thunder, but no matter how many times he swung the giant sword in his hand, he could not hit the bright-winged man in front of him. Even his greatest support, the lightning and thunder emitted by him, had no effect on this winged man. A hint of effect. Angel Ran remembered the Queen's instructions before the war, and did not choose to fight head-on with the Titan god. Instead, he used his understanding of thunder warfare to invalidate the Titan god's long-range methods, and continued to harass him with attacks, killing him. firmly anchored in this battlefield, not letting his power affect the situation of the battle. Binghua, who was above the atmosphere of Oya star, used its computing power blessed by the Sky Blade to constantly predict the trajectory of Liads below, and then used long-range bombing to prevent it from flying through the atmosphere and entering the battlefield. Although he did not have a close fight with Liads, just by looking at the terrifying thunder surrounding him, Binghua knew that if he had to fight to the death, he would not be sure of victory. As for Liad's killing blow, you can understand it by referring to the Titan god Tigrila in the Battle of Gram Star. With a huge body with rough skin and flesh, coupled with the ability to attack over a wide range, facing this existence that is like a moving natural disaster, ordinary angels in large numbers only go up to deliver food. It is conservatively estimated that more than 100,000 ordinary angel warriors would be needed to besiege him in a planned manner and exhaust his physical and mental energy before he can be killed. Liads was in an extremely angry mood at the moment. The attack power of the winged man in the sky could not cause any effective damage to him, but the victory was that his attack carried huge kinetic energy. The four-legged flying eagle under Liads was already under a lot of pressure when he was flying. After being blocked by the wingman's attack, it was unable to continue climbing. However, this situation finally changed after half an hour. A large group of very crude aircraft flew towards Binghua's area at high speed. Tianren immediately told Binghua the news. "Queen, it has been detected that 2,000 flying units are flying towards your area. Due to location issues, Sky Blade cannot support you, Queen." Hyuka focused his attention on Liads below, who was looking for an opportunity to rush up, while glancing to the left from the corner of his eye. "I saw a large group of black spots swooping down from outside the atmosphere, flying straight into the airspace, like a group of falcons seeing their prey. Create opportunities for Lord Liads. As long as Lord Liads enters the battlefield, we will win." The strong Sabata orc warrior sitting in the aircraft roared in the communication, and then roughly pulled the jet power lever to increase the speed of the aircraft underneath him to the maximum. When Liad saw this, he thought it was a good opportunity and gave the order to the four-legged eagle below him to climb up. Seeing that the situation was in a dilemma, Binghua couldn't help but smack her lips, but this didn't mean that she was helpless. The space beside him was distorted and several angel-style shields were floating in the air, blocking all the energy light bullets fired from a distance. At the same time, the offensive against Liads did not weaken at all, and he was defeated again. When Sabata's aircraft arrived around Binghua, the body locks shot out from the wormholes, entangled with each other like chains and spears, forming a complex prison around Binghua. Then, nearly half of the large group of Sabata aircraft that flew in had a tragic mid-air collision and crashed into the gun prison formed by the God Beam lock. As for the remaining half of the Sabata aircraft, they enjoyed the treatment of Liads just now, but they were versions without additional energy. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 369. There are less than 300 left, so there is nothing to fear for the time being. Binghua turned slightly and faced Liads below again. As for the few remaining Sabata aircraft, he could only slowly destroy them. While preventing Liads from taking off, Binghua took the opportunity to contact Ruyun on the Tianren flagship and asked her to report the current intelligence on the battlefield. "Queen, we have annihilated more than 30 Titan warships, and more than half of the warships of Tianding Star and Sabata have also been wiped out. As long as we are given some time, we can directly defeat the main force of the fleet of the Beast civilization." Binghua felt a little relieved when he heard this. After thinking for a moment, he spoke to Ruyun on the other end of the communication and said, "Maintaining the offensive intensity will hold back the opponent's top combat power here. You only need to destroy all the enemy ships in front of you." As soon as Binghua finished speaking the above words, Ruyun suddenly spoke loudly and reminded, "Queen, be careful, a high-intensity energy reaction is detected below your position." Binghua was stunned when he heard this and quickly looked down. Unexpectedly, Liad's had landed on the ground and pointed the giant sword shining with dazzling lightning in his hand at him. A deafening rumble of thunder was heard below, and then a terrifying brontosaurus with a diameter of more than 2 meters flashed in the atmosphere. The next moment, Binghua's eyes turned white, his eardrums were filled with a harsh buzzing sound, and there were bursts of stinging and burning sensations all over his body. The long sword suspended beside Binghua seemed to have lost its owner, falling downwards with Binghua's body in the thunder. After a while, Binghua shook his head and finally regained consciousness, but his body was a little numb and he couldn't muster any strength, so he tried to flap his wings. Suddenly, there was a sharp scream beside her. Binghua looked in the direction of the scream, her eyes widened slightly and she saw a huge open mouth coming towards her. Boom! The huge curved beak closed, and the four-legged flying eagle swallowed the falling ice flower into its belly in one gulp, and let out a cheerful cry. Liad's below saw this and raised the corners of his mouth slightly, finally avenging the vicious blow he received from the winged man before. The four-legged flying eagle that swallowed the ice flower landed next to Liad's, lowered its huge head, and wanted to be rewarded by its master. After caressing his mount's head a few times, Liad sat astride its back and pointed the sword in his hand towards the sky, the meaning being self-evident. After hearing a piercing cry, Liad rode the flying eagle on his crotch and rushed high into the sky again. The scene of Binghua being swallowed by a giant beast silenced the sounds in the bridge of the Sky Blade flagship. Seeing that the morale of the angels below was showing signs of collapse, Ruyun suppressed his worries and yelled at the angels below. "What are you doing in a daze? Keep doing whatever you have to do. The queen will not fall so easily. It is our current task to annihilate the enemy as soon as possible." After seeing that morale was barely maintained, Ruyun, who was worried, decided to make a remedy. "Go ahead and mobilize 10 high-level angels to the front of the Titan god who is about to break out of the atmosphere. He must not be allowed to enter the battlefield." But Ruyun soon discovered that there was no need to issue this order, because the logo representing Binghua once again appeared within Tianren's detection range. Liad's, who was riding the flying eagle, suddenly felt that the flying motion of the mount beneath him was a little deformed, and the sound it made was also full of strong pain. Liad's didn't know what was going on, so he could only urge the flying eagle on his crotch to speed up. Soon Liad's knew why the flying eagle was in so much pain. He saw several silver sword blades about the same size as toothpicks coming out of the flying eagle's abdomen, and then he quickly cut around and disemboweled it. All kinds of weird internal organs fell downwards along the wound on Fei Ying's abdomen. After the flying eagle whined, it lost the power to flap its wings and carried Liad's on its back toward the ground. Angry in his heart, Liad's had already figured out what happened. He stared at the disemboweled eagle's belly, waiting for his target to appear. Binghua was accidentally swallowed by a giant bird, but it was not digested. However, the giant beast's stomach was too big, and she could not find an exit for a while. In the end, Binghua, who didn't want to be pulled out like a rake, directly split the king's sword in his hand and used 6 sharp-handleless silver swords to disembowel the giant beast. At the same time, just in case, he also smashed it into pieces. Most of the internal organs in the body. After doing this, Binghua's body was inevitably tainted with an unpleasant stench. She had a certain mysophobia and her face was extremely ugly. She flapped her wings and flew out through the opening. As soon as he felt the fresh air outside, before Binghua could express his joy of escaping, he was tightly grasped by a huge hand. Huge pressure swept in from all directions, almost crushing all the bones in Binghua's body. Along with the huge face that came into view, a dull loud sound came immediately. "Wingman! I want you to know the consequences of provoking the Titan Lord." Liad's, who was falling to the ground, looked at the winged man in his hand who was trying to struggle out of his hand, and couldn't help but increase his grip. As if being squeezed by a stamping machine with tens of millions of tons of pressure, Binghua felt that his body was going to be deformed by him. However, he was falling in the air at a rapid speed and had no time to move his weapons. Even the 6-handleless silver swords that split off fell into the sky. There was a loud bang. After landing, Liads made a deep pit in the ground, but he quickly got up, staring at Binghua with his brown beast eyes, and dazzling blue thunder flashed in his palms. At this moment, Binghua finally knew what it felt like to be struck by lightning from zero distance, and the skin all over his body became scorched black at a speed visible to the naked eye. But Binghua was stunned and held back from screaming. He clenched his teeth and stared at Liadz's face with a pair of black eyes, and uttered a few words. Angel's foul language. Although Liads couldn't understand what Binghua meant, he also knew that they were not good words. Suddenly there was a flash of silver light, and Liads screamed in pain. He slammed the ice flower in his hand to the ground, covered his bleeding eyes and kept retreating. Binghua was thrown into the ground hard, and it took a few seconds to recover. She gritted her teeth and endured the severe pain that spread throughout her body. She crawled out of the pit she had made, and summoned wings to take her flying toward the sky. As for Liads below, who was attacked by a handleless silver sword just now and scratched his eyes, Binghua now has no ability to kill him. Ruyun, who was on the Tianren flagship, discovered something strange about his queen, and directly mobilized the angels who were close to Binghua on the battlefield to escort her back. After returning, he saw that his queen was seriously injured, and the enemy Titan god with strong vital signs was still there. Ruyun issued a retreat order, and Binghua did not object, because the purpose of this war had been achieved. It's just the difference between being completely defeated and already defeated. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 371. Several days have passed since the battle on Oya Star. Angel successfully achieved his tactical goal and severely damaged the Titan fleet and its affiliated civilization. Although the casualties on the Angel side were not as heavy as those on the Titan side, there were still quite a few soldiers killed after statistics. There was also a Skyblade that failed to withdraw during the retreat and was abandoned on the battlefield and self-destruct. Because this battle was a sneak attack and did not restrict any means, the casualties were better than the battle in the Gram system. However, the affiliated civilization suffered a lot of losses, and even the nearly average fleet was unable to withdraw. Faced with this result, the affiliated civilizations did not complain. Instead, they felt that their side had made a profit. At this moment, Binghua was lying in Tianren's treatment facility recuperating. The bones in her upper body had suffered varying degrees of damage due to the tremendous pressure they had endured, and it would take a long time to repair. However, Binghua felt that compared to him, Liads was definitely in a worse situation, and the few blows he directed at his eyes with the handleless silver sword would definitely leave a deep impression on him. After the war in the Oya galaxy came to an end, Liads lost control of the Shima star field and fell into a situation with no soldiers available. He himself had to find a safe place to recuperate because of an eye injury. The Tianding stars and the Sabata alliance, who were originally the main force in annihilating the winged people, suffered heavy losses in the battle on Oya Star and went on the defensive, fearing that the winged people would attack them like they did to the Shima Empire. So the carnival belonging to the angel-affiliated civilization began, and with the support of angels, new stargates were established at an incredible speed. As for the battle fleets of the affiliated civilizations, they are fighting against the Shima Orc forces in the Shima Star territory every day, encroaching on the star territory that originally belonged to the Shima Empire. The Shima Orcs were unable to do anything about the affiliated civilizations supported by angels. The huge Shima Empire was rapidly declining with the reduction of the star field under its rule and the inaction of Titans, Tianding, and Sabata. The decline of the Red Star Ring Shima Empire was most affected by the Orc coalition on the Kamigawa front. Tidmans was the second Titan god to arrive on the front-line battlefield after Aughuls. As the god of war, he lived up to his name and stabilized the front line of the beast body civilization as soon as he arrived. Texas, who recovered from his injuries during the period, organized a god-killing battle with a luxurious lineup. The participants included 4 gods of war from Kamigawa, but in the end Tidmans was still allowed to escape, and the god-killing battle also ended in failure. However, because of an incident, Tidmans was no longer able to organize an army that could counterattack Shenhe, because a large number of Shima orc fleets and soldiers left the battlefield without asking the Tianding Star people who were the leaders for instructions. The reason why this situation occurs is inseparable from the Kamigawa civilization. Angel now has a strategic alliance with the Kamigawa civilization, and most of the information will naturally be shared. When he learned that the Shima Empire was on the verge of destruction, Kamigawa used some means to incite the Shima orcs. Spurred by the news that their hometown was about to be destroyed, the Shima orcs at the grassroots level lost their will to fight and began to withdraw their troops one after another, because their hometown was about to be destroyed, but the Titan gods they believed in ignored it. The Shima orc fleet that quietly left the front line failed to successfully leave the new Kamigawa galaxy. It was defeated by the Kamigawa troops that had been ambushing there for a long time at the border of the new Kamigawa galaxy. Only less than 1/3 of the warships escaped into the wilderness. Cosmic Belt. These Shima orcs who ran into the desolate Cosmic Belt lost their safe and stable route guarantee and didn't know how long it would take to return to the Red Star Ring, so they no longer posed any threat to the battle situation. As the god of war, Tidmans was extremely angry about this, but he could not do anything. Moreover, just maintaining the current situation was already a challenge to his ability, because starting from half a year ago, Sabo, the Tianding Star, the Tower Alliance never sent a single soldier to the new Kamigawa galaxy. In order to fulfill the Titan King's oracle, Tidmans only mixed the Titan warriors he could bring with him, the Tianding, and the Sabata War Alliance to enhance combat effectiveness. As an ally of Kamigawa, the Angels would naturally not lose control when the war situation shifted to their own side. The second batch of expedition fleets was formed, led by Liang Bing, the auxiliary officer of the King of Angels. The second batch of expeditionary force consists of 30 new generation Skyblade warships, 150 Skysword ships, and 1.5 million angel warriors equipped with new weapons. After the expedition fleet was announced to be formed, it embarked on a journey to the Red Star Ring the next day. Binghua was very happy about this. Now the number of battle angels under her command has been lost by nearly 1/5 after successive battles. Only 28 Skyblades can still engage in high-intensity warfare. Most of the remaining Skyblades have been damaged to a certain extent and can only be used for cruising and supporting affiliated civilization operations. Relying on these forces alone to control nearly 1/3 of the star field of the Red Star Ring is tantamount to wishful thinking, otherwise there would not have been an attack on the giant gate star. The situation in Red Star Ring was extremely calm at the moment. The early stage of the encirclement and suppression of the winged people launched by Liadz, the god of thunder, was extremely smooth. In the middle stage, an important winged base in the rear was successfully destroyed. But in the later stage, the wingman's tactics of stealing the family made all the achievements of Liadz in the early stage go to waste, and the soldiers under his command who could fight ran to death. Now even Liadz himself had to return to the Titan Kingdom for treatment due to eye problems. The Titan Kingdom did not send its main gods and fleets to encircle and suppress the angels. It was like a superior god, quietly watching what the angels did in the Red Star Ring. Because of the inaction of the Titans, the Tianding Stars and the Sabata War Alliance were happy to continue like this, and concentrated their forces on important planets in their respective star regions to prevent the winged people from attacking them. Time passed slowly in such a strange situation, and more than a few months had passed in the blink of an eye. On the outer edge of the atmosphere of the giant Stargate, several Skyblades are parked here together in a rare sight. The space channel in the middle of the giant Stargate on the surface is blooming with unprecedented blue light, and thick energy arcs are flashing in the air. Binghua, who was standing on the Tianren flagship combat platform outside the atmosphere, whispered, "Here he comes." A Skyblade battleship with folded wings slowly flew out from the giant stargate, and then rose straight out of the atmosphere. It was not until more than half an hour later that all 32nd generation Skyblades from the 2nd Expeditionary Legion of Merlot Heavenly Court sailed out from the stargate. The wings on both sides of one of the ships were folded, and the hull decoration was more luxurious than other heavenly blades around it. It broke away from the queue and sailed towards Binghua. Although the distance was still far away, Binghua could already clearly see several familiar figures standing on the Skyblade combat platform that was approaching towards him. "Long Bing, long time no see. It's great that you can lead the army here." Binghua hugged Liang Bing, who flew over. When he spoke, his tone was a little excited, no longer as calm as usual, because finally there was an angel of the same level as him to assign. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 372. Liang Bing patted Binghua on the back a few times and said, Okay, I don't know your Binghua's abilities yet. I heard that the Titans were beaten to the point of losing their armor by you." After Binghua and Liang Bing separated, they smiled bitterly and shook their heads. "You think too highly of me, Liang Bing. I only defeated the Titans temporarily, and they didn't take me seriously before. It's just because of my series of actions that they can't deal with me for the time being. After all, they are still at war with Kamigawa." Binghua and Liang Bing had a tacit understanding and did not dwell on this topic because they would naturally understand these things during the war. The arrival of the expedition fleet has more than doubled the strength of the Angels in Red Star Ring, and several new generation weapons and equipment are also in place. The armor of ordinary Angels adds special protection against thunder and heat, greatly increasing the resistance of Angel warriors to these two attacks. In terms of weapons, in addition to the war spear in his hand, he is also equipped with a spear of judgment for long-range throwing. The old flaming swords equipped by the 2nd generation Angels are being gradually replaced with the new generation of flaming swords that have been improved by Merlot Heaven. As for the replaced flaming sword, it will be transported back to the Merlot Heavenly Court by a moderately damaged Skyblade for recasting. Tianlan Star is a temporary base established by the Angel Legion in the Red Star Ring Shima Star region. After more than 10 years of transformation and construction by the Angels, the environment of Tianlan Star has been greatly improved. The entire planet has a moderate temperature and is full of greenery. Except for the large Skyblade parking port built outside the atmosphere and a large palace complex of Angels on the planet, it is like a primitive ecological planet where intelligent life has not yet been born. Your environment is pretty good. It's almost as good as Merlot Heaven. Liang Bing stood by the white stone pavilion and sighed as he looked at the white clouds and blue sky slowly drifting into the distance. Don't praise me. This place is incomparable to Merlot Heaven. The temperature difference between day and night is huge. Although our bodies can adjust themselves, it is still not as comfortable as staying in Merlot Heaven. Liang Bing did not agree with Binghua's words. He closed his eyes and opened his arms, feeling the breeze between heaven and earth blowing across his cheeks and stroking the tips of his hair. He opened his lips and spoke slowly. Binghua, you don't understand, everything here is real and created by nature's own hands. You and I both know that Merlot Heaven is just a large space city built on the remains of a planet. Everything there is simulated through technological means. The breeze blowing is simulated, the fresh air is created by technology, and the light is just reflected by concentrated energy. There I don't feel this mesmerizing, unrestrained, free feeling that I have now. Binghua, who was sitting at the stone table in the pavilion, didn't know what to say for a moment when he heard this. After thinking about it, he finally spoke. Liang Bing. Why are you suddenly interested in these? Liang Bing, who was enjoying the breeze and light with his eyes closed, heard Binghua's question and just replied softly, I just suddenly felt something. You don't need to worry about it, Binghua. Binghua shook his head slightly and didn't care, and continued to slowly taste the special drink sent by the attached civilization on the stone table, feeling the faint fragrance between his lips and teeth. For the next 10 days or so, Binghua and Liangbing would come to this pavilion to talk every day, enjoying the scenery of Tianlan Star together, and occasionally discussing their respective understandings and opinions on space technology. But leisure time is short-lived after all, and the joy of Binghua and Liangbing's reunion after a long absence is soon disturbed by the war. The Angel Legion under Binghua quickly completed the change of equipment and conducted 2 months of training to become familiar with the newly installed weapon, the Spear of Judgment. Then there is the new mass destruction method of the Flaming Sword. After actual use by the Angel Warriors, Binghua discovered that the Sky Blade Judgment, using the second-generation Angel's understanding and control of energy-driven technology, could not effectively restrain the released fusion energy. It's easy to backfire and hurt yourself. Only angels who have been promoted to third-generation warriors can rely on their greatly improved computing power to effectively restrain the fusion energy emitted by the Flaming Sword after entering the Sky Blade Judgment, causing effective damage to the enemy. When everything is ready, it means that a new war is coming, but before that, Binghua is not in a hurry to attack the Tianding Stars and the Sabata War Alliance. Binghua discovered that the Tianding Stars and the Sabata Alliance were not keen on fighting angels, so he carefully sorted out the details of the current war with the beast body. Binghua discovered that in order to win this physical war, she did not have to follow her original idea, step by step to remove all the wings of the Titans and then launch a general attack on them. The unauthorized retreat of the Shima orcs on the Kamigawa front gave Binghua a new idea. This war did not seem to be a physical confrontation, and there was no easing of the war between the two sides. Although Tianding and Sabata believe in the Titans, judging from their behavior during this period, it seems that they are not sincerely surrendering. Binghua suffered a big loss for Liads and his men suffered heavy losses. However, the Tianding people and Sabata who believed in the Titan clan did not have the slightest idea of revenge. Instead, they withdrew their troops to protect their own interests. Binghua felt that this was you can make a fuss. In the end, this task fell on Liangbing, who had just arrived at Red Star Ring. What? Binghua, you ask me, the mighty Apocalypse King, to be a lobbyist. Convince the Tianding Stars and Sabata to rebel against the Titan Protoss. Are you not out of your mind? Liangbing looked shocked in the conference hall, looking at Binghua as if he was mentally retarded, while waving his hands repeatedly to indicate that he was unable to do such a thing. Let me tell you, Binghua, even though my sister asked me to obey your orders when I get here, you can't play with me. Those beast body warriors are full of foul-smelling words and look so rude. I don't think they can communicate at all. Looking at Liangbing below, who looked like he was not willing to fight to the death, Binghua had a headache. If it weren't for her poor eloquence, she wouldn't have had the idea of letting Liangbing become a lobbyist. But if you go by yourself, you may probably stab the opponent's king to death with a sword while talking, and then it will really be a deadly feud. Liangbing, as long as you can convince Tianding and Sabata to withdraw from this physical war, I can help you once in the future without violating my principles. Liangbing's eyes below him moved, and a series of expressions such as resistance and shock on his face immediately stopped. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised and he stretched out 3 fingers. 3 times. Binghua's expression remained unchanged, and she thought to herself, it's really just a pretense. At the same time, she said loudly, this is once, no need to discuss. Liangbing showed a pained expression, twice, no more, I risked my life to do things for you. Deal, I only have one request, let them withdraw their troops from New Kamigawa as soon as possible. Liangbing gave Binghua a reassuring gesture. Binghua, don't worry, I promise to make them the shape you want. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 373. Watching Liang Bing leave humming an unknown tune, Binghua didn't feel any loss. From the beginning, Binghua knew that Liang Bing would not directly agree. Most of Liang Bing's impressions on other angels are that he is lively, active, and has no airs. But there is one thing that only Binghua and he 11 know, that is, he will never suffer any loss. Liang Bing may not care about some small things with you, but if you want to ask her for any trouble, you have to pay something, and commitment is one of them. In the entire angel civilization, Kesha is probably the only one who can make Liang Bing do something without any conditions. In addition, the matter of becoming a lobbyist this time seemed very troublesome to Binghua, so he gave Liang Bing 2 promises. Let her do her best. Jingnan, come here to the Tianren Hall. After seeing Liang Bing leave, Binghua immediately called Jingnan over. Queen, are you looking for me? Jingnan looked puzzled, but still stood quietly below, waiting for Binghua's instructions. Jingnan, I'll give you a task. You should calculate all the available troops of our angels in the Red Star Ring. Then send me the data I need to use as a reference. After Jingnan also left, Binghua called Angel Ran, Hizui, and several other angels to the conference hall. The task given to them was very simple, which was to formulate an effective combat method against Titan warriors and Titan gods. A few days after Liang Bing left for the Tianding galaxy, Binghua split the Angel Expeditionary Force into 2, stationing 29 sky blades each outside the Tianding and Sabata star fields, leaving only the Shima star field. Several Skyblade warships used to maintain the most basic protection. This is what Binghua made to show to the Tianding people and the Sabata War Alliance. Of course, whether these 2 forces will take action or not depends entirely on whether Liang Bing can successfully convince the leaders of the 2 civilizations to give up the plan against the Shenhe civilization. War. If Liang Bing's action fails, the 2 stationed Skyblade fleets will destroy the mother planets of these 2 powerful animal civilizations just like the capital of the Shima Empire, and then spend time suppressing them in order to weaken the power of the Titan Protoss. The goal of In the central star region of Tianding Star region, in the streets of a large city on Tianding Star, among the tall Tianding people coming and going, there was an extremely slight distortion in the light. Wow! This is the home planet of these big guys. The environment is not as bad as imagined. At this moment, Liang Bing is surrounded by a layer of optical refraction camouflage, plus a certain trace elimination process. At this moment, she is completely out of sight of the Tianding people passing by. Compared with the Tianding people who are generally over 2 meters and 3 meters tall, Liang Bing and Tianding the children of the Dingxian people are about the same height. Although the impression of the Tianding Star people has changed, the fact that they are a beast body civilization cannot be concealed. Liang Bing has been in the Tianding Star territory for more than half a month. After covert investigation and intelligence collection, and even learning the uncommon Tianding language, Liang Bing found the home planet of the Tianding people and then ran to the palace. Lurk down. When you get back, you have to pour out your bitterness to that guy Binghua. If this happens again in the future, go ahead and love whoever you want. While Liang Bing was thinking to himself, he skillfully bypassed the 2 tall Tianding guards and looked at the towering Yellowstone Palace in front of him, smacking his lips in disgust. Liang Bing is now extremely familiar with the palace of the Tianding people, and even knows where the Tianding king usually sleeps. However, Liang Bing did not kill Tianding King Titarel, nor did he make contact with him, because judging from the orders and behavior style that Tianding King usually issued, persuading Tianding King to withdraw his troops was no better than the Titan surrendering immediately now. Of simplicity. But Liang Bing was unwilling to let this mission fail like this, because Binghua's 2 promises were too tempting, not to mention anything else. Liang Bing is very coveted for the Shushan chain Liang Bing in Binghua's arsenal. Liang Bing also tried to make a chain-type weapon with a wide range of uses, but no matter how he tried it, he couldn't make it as easy to control as the Binghua Shushan lock, and it also came with a lot of auxiliary functions. Liang Bing has already planned to find Binghua after the mission and ask her to modify his weapon and add several special functions, so this mission must not fail. After thinking hard for a long time, Liang Bing came up with a feasible method, but before that, he had to conduct an experiment. Liang Bing first captured 2 Tianding people, killed them and then scanned and studied their bodies. The result amazed Liang Bing. It was that the physical strength of the Tianding star people was extremely abnormal. Even ordinary civilians who had not experienced exercise, their physical strength slightly exceeded that of angel civilians. The physical fitness of the few Tianding people who have experienced hell-like training even exceeds that of the second-generation angel warriors, and has almost reached the level of third-generation warriors. Without the aid of any technological means, these Tianding people, whose technology is backward and even inferior to pre-nuclear civilization, have actually broken the physical limits of carbon-based intelligent life under the God-making civilization and can survive briefly in the vacuum of the universe. This also corroborates the history of the Tianding people that Liang Bing has read recently. The Tianding people were originally a cold weapon beast civilization living on the Tianding planet. Because of the Tianding people's violent nature, wars continued. But one day a giant metal ship from outer space arrived on this planet. The Shenhe body civilization on the giant ship wanted to conquer the Tianding people on this living planet. So a war was launched against this planet that was still in the cold weapon civilization. However, the result was shocking. The Kamigawa civilization was defeated, and in turn was captured by the Tianding people, who used their interstellar navigation technology to counter-invade the Kamigawa civilization. From then on, the Tianding stars who had acquired interstellar navigation technology no longer suffered from internal conflicts. Under the leadership of a powerful Tianding star, they began to conquer the starry sky. Slowly, today's Tianding star territory was formed. Until the arrival of the Titans, the talents of Tianding star stopped their war of conquest. After Liang Bing entered the palace of the Tianding people, he walked into a remote bedroom in the palace and walked straight to a Tianding woman sitting on the bed. Who is it? This woman from Tianding star noticed something. As soon as she yelled, she found that she could not move. She could only move her eyes to observe her surroundings. Before she could recover from the shock, the void in front of her suddenly became rippled. A short Kamigawa-type woman wearing gorgeous armor walked out of the air. Liang Bing coughed slightly nervously, and her originally frivolous face turned extremely serious. She slowly opened her arms and ignored the reaction of the Tianding woman in front of her, because she was doing something extremely sacred. As Liang Bing opened her eyes, the Tianding woman who was imprisoned in the space suddenly felt that she was becoming smaller and smaller, while Liang Bing's figure became taller and taller, just like the Titan god she believed in, no, even taller than the Titans. I am your goddess. The goddess you have always believed in. You have dedicated everything you have to me, and the orders I give are the will you must obey. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 374. Liang Bing's index finger rested lightly on her chin, looking at the silly Tianding woman who was kneeling in front of her, constantly chanting "Queen, my queen," thinking about the technique she had just used. Using its own powerful computing power to implant dark information prepared in advance into the target's mind and memory, it is similar to the forced controllable hypnosis of some civilizations, but compared to hypnosis, this method of dark information implantation is more crude and time-consuming. The time is also shorter. The prototype of this technology is Kamigawa's dark information storage technology, but Liang Bing accidentally discovered that this technology can not only store technological data, but also the memories of angels. At that time, Liang Bing's space gene project was stuck in a bottleneck, so he started studying this technology in his spare time. Finally, we accidentally came up with the dark information implantation technology. Simply put, it is to implant a piece of information into an object. This object can be a living thing or a machine. Of course, this process is irreversible, just like drilling a hole in a piece of wood. Even if the dark information is erased, certain traces will be left. Later, after experimenting, Liangbing found that this technology was useless and could not be used for other purposes except for burning information. Because angels generally have genetic computers built by the subconscious, the information implanted by the dark message will be intercepted immediately, and it is impossible to implant a false memory into the brain of the super soldier. As for the consequences of forced implantation, Liangbing is not that crazy. But on Tianding planet, Liangbing tried forced implantation for the first time after scanning and analyzing the brains of Tianding people. The result made her happy, because this technology can really change the memory and personality of an intelligent creature. But it's hard to control the speed. No, the first experimental subject is no different from being stupid. In the following days, Liangbing experimented with his dark information implantation technology on this Tianding woman. As the number of times increased, Liangbing became more and more familiar with the process. Great Queen, please grant me pleasure. I am willing to give everything I have. I just beg you, Queen, to grant me the supreme pleasure you had before. Liangbing looked at this Tianding woman who became like a fanatical believer, touched her smooth chin and sighed, this is so addictive. Okay, the experiment is over. This has taken a long enough time. It's time to carry out the task assigned to me by Binghua. The face of a Tianding star appeared in Liangbing's mind, and it was none other than Tianding King Tai Daryl, now the supreme ruler of the Tianding people. A few months later, Binghua, who was sitting in the office on Tianlan Star, reviewing the information about the Angel Legion and affiliated civilizations, heard the sound of the door being opened, and then a familiar voice came into his ears. Queen, there is a major situation in the Tianding Star territory, and the Tianding people have begun to withdraw their troops. Jingnan's voice was very excited, because she had been keeping an eye on this matter for several months, and now there was finally a change, so she came to tell Binghua immediately. Binghua paused while reviewing the information, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. It seems Liangbing succeeded. Now that the Tianding stars have withdrawn their troops, our angel's strategy should change. Relying on his own dark information implantation technology, Liangbing lurked in the palace of the Tianding people and implanted certain dark information on King Tianding every day. Without anyone noticing, Liangbing successfully implanted King Tianding. Teldarel took the shape he wanted. King Tianding, who had abandoned the Titan God King and believed in Liangbing as the true God, informed his subordinates of the decision of the Tianding people to withdraw from the physical war in a royal court meeting. Then the Tianding people began to secretly retreat from the Kamigawa system, abandoning Sabata and the Titans on the battlefield. Of course, as a beast body civilization that believes in the Titans, this order was of course opposed. However, the opponents were quickly ordered to be executed by Titarel, the king of Heavenly Cauldron. The few who escaped did not make any waves and died mysteriously. Before Binghua could make the next move, the Shenhe civilization had achieved a great victory. Texas took advantage of the sudden retreat of the Tianding stars, and before the god of war Ted Mons had time to adjust his defenses, he launched a massive attack. The attack was directly crushed by Kamigawa's superior force. No matter how Tidmans tried to remedy the situation, it was of no avail. Although the triangular creatures have been threatening the rear of the new Kamigawa galaxy, space has reached a consensus with the high-level civilizations that make up the new Kamigawa civilization to give priority to the beast-shaped civilization coalition. The new generation of god-making projects, Skybow, Sun War God, and Light of Divine River, have also been transferred to the battlefield in Texas. As for the Triangle, only one god of war from Kamigawa was left to watch over the situation and prevent the situation from getting out of control. With the addition of the three war gods, the Kamigawa civilization had the confidence to completely expel the animal civilization from its territory for the first time, so the general attack on Tidman's army began under such circumstances. Just when Kamigawa launched a general attack on the headquarters of Tidman's, the god of war of the Titan Protoss, an order from Kesha suddenly came to Red Star Ring. This order surprised Binghua, because Kesha asked her to send all the fleet to the edge of the Titan Kingdom in the Red Star Ring, and prevent the Titans from reinforcing Tidman's at all costs. But later, Binghua figured out Kesha's plan and the reason why she was eager to let Angel take the lead, because traces of chaos body activity were once again discovered in the star field around the Angel Nebula. The appearance of the chaos body often attracts the eternal sublimator. The two are like a pair of brothers. After one appears, the appearance of the other is not far away. As the king of angels, Kesha would naturally not allow the good situation of the physical war to be ruined, so she was eager to end the war between angels and animal civilizations. Whether Kamigawa can drive out the beast body civilization from its own territory is a key. As long as Kamigawa can successfully complete its tactical goals this time, the defeat of the beast body civilization will not be far away. The reason why Kesha arranged for Binghua to lead all his fleets to the Titan realm was to express an attitude. As long as the Titans have the idea of reinforcing Tidman's and take action, the angels will launch an attack on the Titans the next moment they send reinforcements. There is no doubt that Angel has the ability to threaten the Titan Protoss, because Angel has a powerful Skyblade fleet and high-end combat power comparable to the Titan Lord God. Now there are four main Titan gods in the Titan gods country. Among them, the god of forging is not good at fighting. The gods of light and darkness are responsible for guarding the Titan god's domain. The god of thunder's eyes are not healed yet. If he wants to support Tidman's, he must send light and darkness. One of the two gods, but this will make the defense power of Titan god realm insufficient. The Titan God King who was sitting on the throne opened his eyes, looked at the dozens of Titan gods and several Titan Lord gods below and sighed helplessly. Let Tidman's come back. We have lost the chance to suppress the Kamigawa civilization. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 375. Boom. The dull sound of explosions echoed in the air, and a huge figure like a giant was kneeling on the ground. The layers of thick silver-gray armor on its body reflected a faint metallic luster. Tidman's. Today is the day you die. You have no way to escape. With the god-killing battle axe on his shoulders, Texas crushed the stones under his feet, and a touch of excitement appeared on his iron-blooded and determined face. At this moment, on the left of Texas is the fist of Kamigawa, and on the right is a beautiful young woman with long blonde hair, wearing silver light armor on the upper body, and a silver war skirt on the lower body. The light around her body is much brighter. She is the battle of Kamigawa. Astrid, the light of Kamigawa, one of the gods. And on the two low hills 1,000 meters away behind, there was a man and a woman standing, respectively, Lamor, the bow of the sky, and Snow, the spear of the divine river. Tidman stood up slowly, and a dull word came from behind his helmet with his eyes exposed. Just because you Kamigawa gods want to kill me, this is the best joke I have ever heard. Tidman holds a heavy sword in one hand and a large shield in the other, standing like a metal fortress on the ground in front of the gods of Texas. Then let's meet Zhenjiang. Texas didn't continue to say anything. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly fell to the ground. He held the tomahawk in both hands and rushed out quickly. He jumped into the air halfway and made a jumping chop towards Tidman's huge head. Astrid, the light of Kamigawa on the side, waved her right palm forward, and the whole body was filled with light, and a rain of needle-shaped beams of light poured out. The fist of Kamigawa Linyuan rushed out in an arc and circled around Tidman's, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Tidman's, who is dozens of times taller than the gods of war god present, has a panoramic view of all this. He is different from other Titan gods. What he is best at is melee combat. No Titan god is his opponent at close range. Ignoring the rain of light beams that exploded on his knee pads, the silver shield covered with scratches was lifted up by Ted Mons and slapped forward. Only a dull and loud sound was heard, and Ted Mons stepped on the ground with his feet. Sink into the ground. The next moment, the muscles of Tidman's shield-holding arm bulged up and pushed the shield hard. Texas, who was holding a tomahawk and jumping down, was pushed away by the shield that was dozens of meters wide. After doing all this, Tidmans rolled to the right to avoid the dozens of light arrows and beams that followed. As soon as he got up, he swung the sword in the direction of Lamor, the bow of the sky. The thick blade was directly it is broken into two parts, front and back, and the front half turns into a chain knife and flies toward its target. Larmor's pupils widened and he flew out to the side in embarrassment. The next moment, the low mountain behind him was smashed into a huge ravine by a huge chain knife falling from the sky, almost splitting the 200-meter low mountain into two. Half. At this moment, Tidmans caught a glimpse of Lin Yuan's figure from the corner of his eye. He jumped slightly and jumped hundreds of meters into the air, avoiding Lin Yuan's destructive punch towards his knee. In mid-air, Tidmans flicked the handle of the knife in his hand, and the half of the giant blade connected by a special chain in the distance danced violently. Larmor, who had just escaped the disaster and got up from the ground, was hit in the back by a giant knife flying from behind. He spit out a mouthful of blood on the spot, and then the giant knife hit the main gun with unabated force. Niu Shui, who was sniping at him, was knocked down and dodged by him. The mountain beside him was very unlucky. The mountain collapsed on the spot and caused a huge landslide. Seeing that the attack was ineffective, Tidmans pressed a mechanism on the handle of the knife with his fingers, and the chain knife connected to the broken knife in his hand began to quickly retract. In addition, he also adjusted his body shape as he fell. The front of the shield was facing down, like a giant mountain peak pressing down from the sky. The huge wind pressure pushed the dust raised in the air back to the ground. Lin Yuan, who was in mid-air, could not escape and was shrouded in a huge shadow above his head. Just when the shield pressed down by Tidmans was about to touch Lin Yuan's body, he disappeared into the air, leaving only a burst of floating blue energy particles. Boom! The ground with a radius of several thousand meters shook. Larmor, the bow of the sky, who had just regained some strength, was shaken off the mountain by the sudden vibration and fell screaming into the cracks on the surface. At this moment, Larmor, the Prince of Lance, had only one thought in his heart: the battle between gods is too terrifying. Even if Larmor is killed, he will not participate in this level of divine battle in the future. Just now, Larmor was just scratched on the lower back by the weapon of the Titan god Tidmans, and he had already seen the god of death waving to him. Larmor thought it was okay to pick up girls and live a salty life of a triangle warrior. More suitable for yourself. Bo Shui, who had just set up the dawn light in his hand, was also affected by the shock, and had to re-aim to find the weakness in Tidmans. Before Tidmans could stand up after landing, the light above his head suddenly brightened, dispersing the dark clouds in the sky, illuminating the area with a radius of 1 kilometer like daylight, as if it were coated with a layer of sparkling silver paint. Astrid, the light of Kamigawa, is like a blazing white sun at this moment. Her pupils are filled with overflowing brilliance, her silver skirt is flying in the air, revealing her slender legs, and her long golden hair that originally shimmered almost to assimilate with the surrounding light. The next moment I heard a very heroic female shout in the air. Judgment of light. The thick silver light pillar shrouded Tidmans like a divine punishment falling from the sky, and the terrifying light and heat caused the air to boil and burn. The light of Kamigawa is one of the special god-making projects established in the later period of the ancient Kamigawa civilization. It is a god-making project established with the goal of controlling the ubiquitous light energy in the universe. Its supergene is simple and powerful, which drives ubiquity. The physical light energy can be condensed and clustered to cause huge damage, which is the opposite extreme of the super-gene of Texas, the god of war in Kamigawa. The extreme light comparable to the explosion of tens of thousands of flash bombs can blind people's eyes. Tonksue and others all looked away. Only Texas took a firm step, ignoring the waves of air rushing towards him, and squinted his eyes one step at a time. He walked closer to the light pillar. Feeling the hot air waves caressing his cheek, Texas squinted and raised the god-killing battle axe in his hand. The next moment, the ancient Kamigawa characters on the battle axe lit up, bursting out with a dazzling burning orange light, like the battle axe contains a star that is about to explode. After a few seconds, the light beam dissipated. Astrid panted in the sky and lost her power. She flew backwards and the world returned to its previous groggy appearance. Tidmans climbed up from the scorching ground, with wisps of smoke rising from the armor all over his body. Even with his top-notch physical fitness among the Titans, he felt bursts of burning pain radiating from all parts of his body. At this moment, a roar that echoed through the sky came into Tidman's mind. He looked up and saw an unusually small figure holding an equally small battle axe in his hand and striking towards his forehead. Texas guillotine.